Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Audie, and we're just going to kick it off with some humble pie if I can get through this intro without laughing or messing up.
Hi. Hi, Regan. How are you?
Obviously, a little rough since it took us 4 starts for you to get that one off the ground. Just a simple
I love
welcome.
it. Yeah, for the people you don't know, Reagan nails it every single time. First time off the bat, she kills it. And so, yeah, we were a little rough this morning, and then she finally got it right, and then I had an interruption, and it's totally fine. Um, and I'm like, we could just stop that there's our humble pie.
There we go.
I'm like, there it is. But no, Reagan, tell us about yours.
Well, the whole reason I'm so off today is because this is my second night in a row of literally virtually no sleep. I've got a
Hmm.
teething baby, and she's just wildly rolling around, wrestling and crying if she's not nursing. And then if she is nursing, she's still wrestling. So,
Mm-hmm.
2 nights ago that happened, and I was like, oh, this is really frustrating. And last night I had a better attitude about it, but I mean, I looked at the clock at 4 and I was like, have I slept at all? I don't think I've slept at all.
Yeah.
So that's where
Mm.
we are. We're gonna just let the Holy Spirit work today because I am going on the what are they called? I'm just on fumes. Fumes, there's the word.
Fumes, yeah, fumes. No, I feel you. I haven't been sleeping that great either. I have a bit of a compilation, I guess you could say, of humble pies today. Sleep is also one of them. We have a mattress that's kind of like it's a purple mattress. There's something wrong with it, and there's like we're getting holes in the mattress. That's like we're just sinking into them, like way more than a normal mattress. So anyway, long story short, the baby that's in the middle just rolls on over to me and she'll pull my hair and she'll cry and she'll want to nurse and it's really that's great. I love sharing a bed with her. However, I've decided we're going to transition her out into the bassinet for a little bit just so I can get a few nights of some decent sleep. And so last night we tried it for the first time and I want to say I got it maybe like 6 or 7 times. We went to bed like, I don't know, maybe it was close to 11 or something. It was just late. And then I'm up at like 5:30 in the morning doing other stuff. So I haven't had that much sleep either. So I'm just like, I'm right there with you. If we say something wild this episode, just
Okay, it's
because we're
just
sleep
sleep.
deprived.
It's sleep deprivation.
Um, oh my gosh. So I've been doing that. I've had nightmares, like weird dreams last night because of that, and I'm not going to disclose that with everybody because they were awful. And then yeah, my teeth are just like falling apart because of like hormones and whatnot, and just not sleeping and like the added stress of not sleeping. I was telling Reagan, I've been honest with myself. Like I thought I had been sleeping okay, and yeah, no. I'm not really sleeping that well. And so we're just kind of like starting over, which is really good. But yeah, it's been super humbling because I looked at my mouth yesterday and I was like, like that's not good. To the point where I proceeded to continue to eat like an undisclosed amount of cookies yesterday. And yeah, so I think my ultimate humble pie is I was sitting here with my oldest daughter and then I have the other one in the swing and we're trying really hard to like work together, Lily and I. She is she will be 3 next week. And she is all over the place. Like emotionally, like big feelings,
Mm-hmm.
big feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have been sitting with her trying to nurture her and like trying to do something that's like different and out of the box. So I'm like showing her like this thing on my computer. And it's like 6:30. I don't expect Eric home for like an hour. I've got a glass of wine. We're both sharing a cookie, and this is the most humbling moment. Eric texts me and says, he has semifinals for his soccer league tomorrow. And he was like, "Hey, so I'm gonna go and I need to take a run and then do like his soccer touches." And he was like, "Do you want to come with me?" And I'm like, it was like wine in hand, cookie in hand, and I was like, I've had plenty of cookies and I am now having a glass of wine. I was like, I would love to. I just need to hydrate first. Like I just need to hydrate first. Oh my gosh, Reagan, it was so humbling.
Oh,
I was like, huh. I'm not gonna tell him how many cookies I've had. Um, it was wild.
it's so
But it's just
real.
it's a bunch of it.
That's so funny that you said that because I almost shared too. Another humble pie was that my husband's been traveling out of town, so it's been a little intense over here too. Just harder, extra stuff, less support. And
Mm-hmm.
I totally, this is so trashy. This is so trashy. So I'm just gonna tell you since you told me yours. But I bought the kids and myself a whole package of Oreos. We don't eat that kind of stuff around here. I had cancer. I have to be careful. But I was just like, let's go to the gas station and get Oreos. And we had Oreos and milk
Yeah,
one night. And
I love
and
it.
like we were all sick. We all had stomach aches. We were all like
Oh
we had
yeah,
all these things. It was just like
I've not been feeling well either.
right. But I think it
It's like I knew it was gonna be worse.
yes, you're making it worse because you're tired and you're like, I just need some sort of pick me up because I'm out of it. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
a low humble pie that I did not even want to tell you. So thank you for telling me your cookies. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so funny, and that's so true because like it, I was thinking this yesterday after we went for the walk, and I had Lily like up underneath like the baby stroller, and so I was pushing like I don't know 50 extra pounds up
Oh,
a hill. It was crazy,
yeah.
and I was exhausted by the time I got back. And Reagan, I got like a dopamine rush because I had exercised, and I sat there and I looked at myself because there's still cookies left over, and I was like, dang it. Like I've just like the what I've been searching for, I just went and found. And I was like, and now I don't have an excuse to just eat endless amount of cookies.
Oh, I'm
Because
so
now I
glad that
don't
gave
have
you a
the excuse
dopamine hit
anymore.
though. I'm
It
so
did.
glad. Like
It
that's
did.
horrible but great. Like
They're few and far between nowadays.
yeah,
So I'm glad that I found it too.
yeah, we're in that season for sure. So just lots of grace and gentleness and forgiveness on where we are, but also like awesome that you found that hit. I know that
Yeah.
walking makes me feel so good. I've been trying to walk after every meal, just a couple of laps, and it's been raining nonstop. So there is
Yeah.
no like pouring, lightning, thundering, like
Mm,
so we have not been walking very much, and so that's been another reason I'm like, I don't know, cookies,
yeah.
movie, I don't know. I'm looking for a hit here. Like somebody give me an up.
Right.
But yeah, totally.
Being up. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's
Oh,
humbling.
yeah.
That's
Real
humbling.
humbling.
Yeah. So the topic today, we're going to talk a little bit about fawning. And I don't know if, I don't know what
Mm,
everybody knows about fawning. For me, I showed you I'm making that book, that little ebook about how to regulate your nervous system from a Christian perspective.
right.
And in there, it's like breaking down what your body does under stress. So, like right now, even like if the
Mm-hmm.
baby's crying and the 3 year old is about to throw a fit or is throwing a fit, or you're like
Mm-hmm.
preparing for the fit, your body's like, whoa, and it's going into a response mode. And that's normal and
Right.
good, biologically healthy. It's like, should I fight? I'm like, should I fly from this? Should I run away? Should I
Mm-hmm.
freeze? Or should I fawn? And all we do some combination of all of these throughout our lives, but fawning is one that we didn't even know. We didn't have research for it not too long ago. And then when we did start researching it, people misunderstood it. They thought we only fawn like in the case of like an actual lion or like an abuser. But now we
Mm-hmm.
know people fawn all of the time, and
Yeah.
you can call it some version of it is people pleasing or like suppressing who you are or abandoning yourself. You can call it a lot of different things. It comes out in a lot of different ways. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, just to kind of start us off, we're going to just kind of break into what it would look like if you were to fawn. So, do you have kind of an example of how you tend to fawn when you do it?
Yes, mine, I didn't always fawn, but when I did start fawning, it was kind of like a self-erasure like technique where it was like I being seen causes problems, and so I wanted to disappear. And so like I would like, I know I was telling you right now, I specifically with the person I've had the most struggle with for my entire life, like I could feel myself like walking up, like you know how like when you go on a roller coaster they bring like the bars down. And so it like felt like there was like this bar, like something like on top of my chest. Like I was frozen, but I'm still like in the middle, like I'm still taking up space, but I'm stuck. So it's just like fully turning into whatever like she wanted me to be. And if I like moved or if I said something or did something wrong, like it would come across as like a like you did this wrong and like theoretically like the safety harness I had would like fall apart and then I'd just fall out of the roller coaster. Um and that's
Mm.
genuinely like what it felt like. I'm like it's a very interesting like analogy. But like that's the only thing that I could think of that like really correlated with the fact that it felt like safety, but it wasn't.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And yours is different from mine. That's why I love that you're sharing that intensity. We talked about this last night, but that's how my husband experienced fawning. For him, it was a lot of um, he was a fight, fight, push back, push back, push back, and then it would oh, that's not true. Let me rephrase that. How I misspoke there. He would fawn and like keep his head down and just try to keep his family happy and like not seeing him because he always and he still does this in our marriage sometimes. He's like his mode of operation is if no one sees me, if I just keep my head down, there won't be any storms. But then in
Hmm.
his family, there would still be a storm, right? And so they would just kind
Yeah.
of like cut a little cut, a little cut, a little cut, and then like on the thousandth cut, he would erupt. And
Yeah.
then guess who was the problem? Was it the thousand cuts or was it the eruption? It was the eruption.
Yeah.
So he would go right back into like, okay, nose down, like kind of tail between the legs, like just make sure nobody sees you and we'll have fewer
Yeah.
problems. So that's
Mm.
the like big T version of fawning, right?
Yeah, big T version of fawning right here.
Yep. And then, okay, so then I want to share with my daughter too. I'll share some of mine like throughout this, but I just fawn. Fawning is like my favorite pastime accidentally. And so I have lots and lots and lots of examples, but I want to share my daughter's because I think this one is really relatable. So my daughter's in fourth grade, or she's in fifth grade now, but she's summer, So she would just finish up her fourth grade year and she's navigating like girl drama with fourth grade girls, right? And she has
Mm.
this one friend who is like, whatever they're doing, if it's like we're playing this game and I want to play with five people, my daughter's like, but it's a four-person game. Like, we don't have the ability to even do that. And the girl's like, I want to play with five people. Just let us. You're so rude. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
stop not letting me give me what you just don't like me. And like, does these emotional outbursts. If my daughter ever says, like, but
Mm-hmm.
no. She's given me 100 examples this year, like two girls playing like fairies under the swing sets, right? And then this girl comes up and she's like, I want those. And she's like, well, we're playing with them right now. You can play with them when we're finished. Do you just want to keep me out? You don't like me. Those things like these big outbursts. Well, then the whole
Mm-hmm.
classroom is looking at my daughter. This happens every time. They're all looking at my daughter like, she said you're being mean to her. And she said you just don't like her. So you need to be nicer.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so then I've even thought because this little girl goes home and complains about my daughter a lot, and I'm like, ooh, what's my move here? Because my parents would have said compliance. They would have said, just be nice, share, get along, just like, so y'all stop tattling, get along. And so I would have been forced to give the emotional outbursts, like make them go away by pleasing her. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I still tend to do is I still tend to go, "Oh, you're angry? Let me make it go away for you. Here, have whatever you want,
Yeah.
even if it's sacrificing myself or logic
Mm.
or reality." you know?
Yeah.
And I can tell that that's what this little girl's parents are kind of expecting because the mom is a people pleaser. And I know it so well. I like her a lot. I know it so well because that's been my whole life. But I see that, oh, they're teaching them to give to the emotional outburst. And I'm teaching my daughter
Mm-hmm.
not to give to the emotional outburst because that one, that
Yeah.
creates bullies, but two, because I don't want her to grow up thinking that you have to placate anyone who yells at you.
Yeah. Oh, yowza.
Right? That's intense, but it's just this like
Yeah.
little fourth grade trauma. But that's the kind of
Yeah.
it's the baseline of kind of how this starts. Any thoughts?
I'm just thinking like I'm thinking in my own parenting, like we're at that same place where we're starting to have really big emotional outbursts, and that's the exact opposite that we're trying to reward. It's like, okay, you don't get to just explode. And she's 3, so there's a difference.
Mhm.
But It's so interesting because I just wonder, I'm over here wondering, I'm like, okay, well, how was she raised? Like I'm going into like the deep of like what did this look like when she was 3? I'm
Hmm.
like, wait a second. Because it is hard to be able to have, especially in the fourth grade level, like there's gonna be like the he said, she said drama, talking, all of it,
It still is in
and they're
adulthood too.
children. Yeah, and there still is an adulthood. But like they're children at this point, and so it's easier there. But yeah, like the way you say it, like you just said, like the adulthood part, which is so true. Because I can think of like 100 scenarios growing up where it was like, specifically in the office I was working in when I was still living in Texas. It was just constant, constant. Like it was almost like it got worse with age. And I
Yes.
wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. Just because like the experience you've shared and this experience with your daughter too, it's like when we don't check those, like it's not like it's gonna get smaller on its own. Like it's not like a problem that just kind of goes away. So that's really interesting, Reagan.
Yeah, it's crazy because once you see like if this little girl in my daughter's class is told like, well, if you're crying, then you should be given what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Then she becomes a huge adult victim who just knows like
Yeah.
when I cry, I get what I want. People should placate me. And I have a few of those in my adult life. I have a few of those
Mm-hmm.
people that are like, well, I feel sad, so this is on you. And I'm like,
Yep.
I I totally agreed with you for the first 35 years of my life, but not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's so true. I like, I wonder, because I'm thinking about outcomes. So like the outcome for your daughter, like if she doesn't emotionally like handle this emotional girl, then like she is gonna be painted as the bad guy. Like,
Mhm.
and I guess that's kind of interesting because it's like what a herd mentality, number one. And then number two, it's kind of just like these are the consequences of standing up for yourself. And so then there's like this entire level of resilience that we have to have too. And I also like I see that in adulthood as well. Um, but what does that look like for you as far as like being an adult and moving out of the people pleasing situation? Because it's been so solidified.
Yeah. Oh man, you're giving me chills all over my body because this has just been a huge. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast already, moving from like really during Lent, like hearing Jesus in prayer saying like you're fawning. You are like fear of being seen for who you are and what you actually believe and what I've put on your heart. You're playing small, you're hiding, you're placating people.
Mm,
All that stuff is like on the table in the temple. And I am coming in here and I am turning over that table. I am ready to whip anyone who's trying to peddle that stuff in my house anymore. Do not call
mm,
that Christianity because
yeah.
that's my challenge is to if I don't placate a crier, doesn't that make me a bad Christian?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like it's been so put into my head from our culture, from our society, like compliance, compliance, compliance is Christian, compliance is
Hmm.
Christian, compliance is being a good person. And that's just not Christ-like.
No, it's a big fat lie. It's
Yeah.
a big fat lie. Um, yeah, like I was compliant because that was like survival for me. And
Hmm.
so like for me in my situation it was if I don't keep the peace, like I will be abandoned, I will be punished, or I will be looked upon as like the problem. And I think part of that for me was I was so afraid of being looked at and being misunderstood because if I was misunderstood, like there wasn't, and again, this is just kind of like a narcissistic like control tactic. Like the more confusion you can like bring up, the more you have control over this person because you can create your own narrative. Um, and so that experience for me was if I was misunderstood, then my mom would have to like swoop in and save me. And there was like just instead of just being able to like talk it through or like rewind or and as we know, something you always say constantly, and this is what I've learned and harvested this from you, and I think about this often, is there's not just like two answers, there's not just three answers. Like it's both and, or like what can it look like? And I love taking that approach now because especially like having a podcast where like your thoughts and stuff are like recorded, it's just like, oh my gosh, what if somebody misunderstands me? What if I get like a nasty DM from someone? It's like, okay, then you get to respond to them, or you can choose not to respond to them, or you can clarify, or nothing happens. Um, and it's so interesting because for the majority of my life, like that type of like people pleasing, that type of fawning, I didn't see it as fawning. Like I didn't know like what it was. It was just kind of like this is what I do to survive. Um, and it's kind of like you could it's the opposite of the big emotional outburst. It's like this is what I do to get what I want. It's like, well, what I do to get what I want is like shrink and like decide I don't really want anything.
Yes. That's so well put. That's so well put. Because that's the part that when we're like this, well, and let's back it up a little bit because some of our listeners right now might be like, yeah, I don't do this. So what are some physical signs that I am fawning so that people can really see it? Like when you think about your body, your
Mm,
experience, like I know for me, I end up smiling a lot or laughing when I'm actually
okay.
really uncomfortable. You laugh when you're uncomfortable sometimes.
I do. I love to laugh when I'm uncomfortable. I definitely would say laughing when you're uncomfortable. I think like going back on the being seen, like being more afraid of being seen wrong than seen honestly, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
yeah.
Um, Another one would be only feeling safe if everybody else is safe, specifically like this one person or like your abuser or something like that. Like for me, if my mom wasn't okay, then like I wasn't okay.
Yes.
Like it was like my full responsibility because again of how conditioning and how things were growing up, that's what would happen. So for some people it could be a mother, it could be an in-laws, like it could be a boss. Like I projected that onto my bosses
Oh yeah.
growing up. Um and that's another thing, that projection, like it doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem with this person, but it could be a problem with somebody else and it's a similar type of role. Like I think I was mentioning to you maybe a couple weeks ago, I'm struggling with women my mother's age, um, because I feel like there's like this dynamic there that absolutely doesn't exist. It's just it's in my head from what I have experienced growing up.
Mm,
And so that's another sign for me. It's like, oh, like I feel like I want to fawn to this person, and it's like, nope, there's no reason to fawn. Everything's good. Like, and
mm,
reeling that back in. Um,
that's
and I
good.
would also say saying yes or saying something and then spiraling about it. Like absolutely spiraling about it, like for hours. Like standing up and like either setting a boundary, like doing something that you're trying to do, or even just again fawning and pandering to someone and then sitting there like in a dark room thinking like, oh my gosh, I made the wrong decision. Everything's going like just right on down the toilet.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have
That's
any other
so
examples?
Um, so just like again for our listeners, like if you're doing any of these are signs that you're fawning.
Mm-hmm.
If any of these things are you're like, oh, that's one that I do, that's one that I don't do. One that I do is I feel very responsible for everyone else's emotions. Like just to take it
Mm-hmm.
back to my daughter's story. Um, see how like the little girl, her classmate is like showing big emotion, and then everyone blames it on my daughter. And I'm showing
Mm-hmm.
her like that's culture, that's what our society does, but it's not healthy, it's not high
Mm-hmm.
functioning. You are not responsible for her emotions. Especially
Yeah.
if you're not actively, like you can take responsibility if you're actively hurting her, but if
Yeah.
you're playing and she just wants something and you set a boundary, no, no, you can play when we're done, and she throws a fit, that's not on you. It's not your
Mm-mm.
responsibility. And to take it, you mentioned herd mentality a minute ago, and I just wanted to like follow back up with that really fast because in my life, this is still this like being responsible for other people's emotions is how I have like kept the emotional bullies in my life close to me rather than distancing myself
Mm-hmm.
because emotional bullies push a lot of people away. If you're healthy and high functioning and someone's making you feel responsible for all of their emotions, healthy people are like, no, girl, no, that's
Yeah.
on you. Or like, can't hang out today. I'm busy during brunch. Like, no, healthy people don't want to spend time with emotional bullies. For
Yeah.
me, that was where I feel safest because I knew how to placate that. I knew how to make that go away. So I looked around my
Mm,
life a few years ago and I was like, oh my gosh, I have like 6 emotional bullies that I've just like
yeah.
cozied up to. And I keep them safe. I let them explode and I hold all their emotions and make sure I manage them
Mm,
all. And I even like force my kids and my husband into that sometimes. Like I try to protect or sham wow, we talked about last episode.
yeah.
Like I sometimes try to like sham wow their emotions, making them big emotional babies instead of people
Hmm.
who can stand on their own 2 feet, feel their stuff, and take ownership of their own stuff. So
Yeah.
if I know a lot of moms do this, a lot of my own clients do this with their husbands, with their children, with their adult children. They just go, I'm responsible for everyone else's emotions. If they're upset, I need to fix it. It's probably on me.
Hmm.
And that's it. That's like fawning 101. Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome. Please take a seat, grab your notebooks.
Yes.
There'll be a PowerPoint presentation. You'll need an extra pen. Um, yeah, like, oh, Reagan, like this one, fawning is hard for me to talk about because it is so close. Like it was such a big part of life, and I didn't really have, I guess, language for it up until like the last couple of years. And so it's been an interesting development in like the way I've felt about talking about it, if that makes sense. Because it is kind of like it's terrifying in a way where, like you said, like you just woke up and realized like I have 6 bullies around me. And I remember kind of like waking up and being in the same situation of like, oh, this relationship is actually ruining every good thing I have. Like there's so many negatives that are coming from it that I like are bleeding into everything else. And like I talked about it last week, like the decisions that I've made as far as like not talking to my mom have been difficult, but it's been incredibly beneficial because I'm not showing up as fawning anymore. Um, like I'll give you an example. I used to be, and this is something that I was praised for when I was young, was like standing up for what was right, like whatever that might be. Um, I've been very loud and proud, very vocally pro-life. And so I always felt like fine defending life, from the beginning of conception to a natural death. And that was just very like normal and comfortable. And there's been a lot of other things that I don't know, I just defend like my beliefs, right? And then slowly, as I got older and as my mom and I started having conflict, I would defend myself to her. And those defenses like fell flat. Like it was like even if it could have been the best argument and I could have been completely right, I would have been either like guilted or shamed into believing something different. And so I like started to lose pieces of myself because I was like, I cannot be like that fighter for myself. Like, I can't defend these things that I truly believe in. Like, I truly believe that I was valuable and I was worth something. And then when those things stopped, everything else stopped with it. Like, I would see somebody, I don't know, a kid being rude to another kid. Normally, I'd be like, hey, like, pick on somebody your own size. And then I didn't. And then I just stopped. And I think like a good example of that is switching it back to picking things back up after you realize you're fawning. Um, picking up the pieces of yourself. I started like this last, I don't know, couple of days. I don't like to comment on Facebook. But I saw a mom in a mom's group asking one question, and she got like berated with comments and suggestions and all these other things for something completely separate. Like she was looking for a solution. She's already thought it through, and there was no need for these up, like they were distasteful. It was in like a Catholic group, and there I was very shocked at like the gossip and the judgment and everything. And I was just like, okay. And I like stood up in that moment and left a comment and was like, okay, there's no reason for she wasn't asking for that. We don't need to assume she's stupid. Like, let's just go ahead and move on from this. And I realized literally this week I've had that realization where it was like, you stop doing that, not just on Facebook groups. Because again, we were talking about it, it could be a sign of maturity, like not to have that conversation. But like you stop doing that everywhere. Like I stopped standing up everywhere for myself, for my husband, for so many other people because I thought I was going to be too much, or I was going to push a line, or I was going to basically, like in my head with my situation, change a narrative that she wanted set differently. And so then I just find myself not being authentic anymore. And I'm like coming back to that and it's feeling really good. But it was like all of a sudden I just like looked up and I didn't know who I was because I was creating a different version of myself to appease everyone else.
Yes, yes, yes. And this, just to take it one step further, obviously that's going to have a global shift if lots and
Mm-hmm.
lots of girls or boys both are becoming invisible and becoming compliant from
Mm-hmm.
us just bullying them into silence and giving the bigger emotional bully in the room what they want. What does that
Yeah.
do for our culture? What does that do? I mean, if what does that do for the big picture? Obviously, like if we're wanting to see be the change you want to see in the world, and we're like, but I don't even feel comfortable standing up to a bully like on the playground,
Yeah.
much less like or a Facebook group, or I don't feel comfortable defending myself anywhere or what I believe anywhere. I mean, that's going to have ripple effects throughout the entire world and what kind of a world we live in.
Yeah.
But also, let's just look at your personal relationships. If you are showing up as a fake version of yourself, a palatable shell, kind of vanilla version of who you really are, what's that going to do for the closeness, the connection, and the feeling of I am loved? I am loved. Can you have any of that if you're not even yourself when you show up in relationships?
Exactly. It's the same situation with the stupid cookie we were talking about earlier. It's like you're giving yourself something that's absolutely not going to make any real change instead of going out and doing the thing that's going to give you that dopamine rush. It's literally correlated to the same situation. My husband and I, and even my friends and I, like I couldn't realize why like all of these relationships would pop up and then dissipate. And when I like started showing up as my authentic self, like all of a sudden, like relationships were dropping off like flies. And I was feeling abandoned,
Yeah, who wouldn't?
but that's right, who wouldn't? But then the ones that I had that saw me authentically, like you and like we have our rising tide ladies and then my husband too, like those relationships became stronger, like so much stronger because like I think you had said I think it was in the last episode. It's like you're showing up without the cardboard box on top of you, and you're just out here, and you're like, okay, well, I'm vulnerable, and you're like, well, I'm vulnerable, and it's like, okay, cool, let's be vulnerable together. And that's it. Like we rob ourselves of that, and we rob ourselves of an entire culture of that.
Yes.
And then we create children who are like attention seeking or people pleasing, either or trying to manipulate the people around them to get the things that they were deprived of and weren't taught how to get themselves. Um,
They have
and
exhausted, they have their parents are exhausted, their grandparents are
oh
exhausted
yeah,
because it
oh
is
yeah,
exhausting to paint yourself vanilla every day and show up into
mm-hmm,
conversations metering everything you think and say. That is
mm-hmm,
exhausting. So that's again, this is another sign of do I fawn, yes or no? Am I exhausted after social time? Am I exhausted after conversation with someone? This is really personal to me because and that's what I found. I was just like trashed after social time. Trashed. And I still struggle with this stuff. Like even with you and Jenny and people from the Rising Tide and like my closest friends, I still struggle with this some. And it's like the again, that fear is still very real of if I show up truly authentically and they see that like a lot of sounds overwhelm me. Like when I just visited my
mm-hmm,
close friend in Fort Worth, if I show up completely authentically and I'm like, those sounds in your house are overwhelming me. I'm gonna go outside or I'm gonna go to my room for a little bit. What will she not like me anymore? Will she think bad thoughts
yeah,
about me? Will she be annoyed with me for a minute? And like as I practice this, well, and we're going to go into that, but just that fear of upsetting the apple cart is
Mm-hmm.
exhausting. It's so exhausting.
Yeah.
And then there's one more, and this one's so real. So even all of the women and men that I work with who have been working through this, they're building back, like they're getting a lot stronger. They still do this, and I this is one more thing, and I want to see if you relate to this, but they still go, okay, there was a conflict here. This person did something that walked all over me. I didn't say anything or whatever. And I want to communicate this to them, but it won't help anyway. So I'm just going to swallow it and
Hmm.
pretend it didn't happen. I'm the stronger person. I'm the bigger person anyway. I can just not share this because it won't help anyway.
Yeah.
That is
Um,
fawning.
yeah, that's totally fawning. I relate to that with specifically like with my mom. I don't necessarily with other people, but like definitely with like the abuser, like 100%. Um, and I wonder, hmm, that's curious because yeah, like I definitely do relate to that, but I feel like if I had like a peer do that or something, it would be a different story where I either would confront them again or like there would have to be change. Hmm.
Well, okay, so let's air out our dirty laundry for a minute and use this because this is my neighbor too. When I was a big people pleaser, big fawner, moved here, and I like finally got up the courage one day to ask my neighbor. She always says like, if you need anything, let me know. When you're traveling, I can take care of the dog. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Let me know, let me know. And I was just like, no, 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 no. I'll never ask for anything, you know. Finally got up
Right.
the courage and I was like, can you let our dogs in and out while we're gone this weekend? They sleep in the garage at night. And she's like, sure. I was like, okay, I have another request. If it's possible, could you also pick our milk up from the that we have a milk pickup on Saturdays? I was like, could you pick up our milk up from the recovery? And she's like, no, I can't. I'm like, wow, that is so direct. And I love you so much right now because now I can relax because I know you're going to tell me when you can't do something. So I can ask you to keep the dogs
Yeah.
in and out because you're going to say yes if you can and no if you can't. And it's so
Yeah.
relieving. So to put this on you, and this is where the dirty laundry is, sometimes you know that I tend to placate. You know that I tend to people please. So when we're in business together, we kind of like get into those where we hit up against your wounds, we hit up against my wounds.
Hmm.
So if you think that I'm like keeping some facet of my actual feelings from you about something, how does that feel, Audie? Is that fun to hang out with?
No. I'm like I can answer very quickly no. Um, no, that's so interesting because that is a worry sometimes. Like where I'm
Mhm.
like, is she telling me no? Like, is she telling me the honest truth about this thing? Um, And like sometimes no. Like sometimes there is some placating and that's another thing that I love that we get to work through like in our business relationship is like we get to bring that to each other. And it's like, okay, I don't
I
feel
don't
hurt
love it. I
here.
hate it, but it's good for me, so I'm doing it.
I'm like, I love it. What are you talking about?
Oh,
Um,
yeah. How does it
but
feel like
yeah,
thinking that maybe, and I'm really trying not to do this at all with you, but we've had these conversations and you're like, I can't
yeah,
tell if if you're really being honest or not. Are you really telling me if
yeah.
you like this or if you don't like this? Like, what's that like on your end?
It's very it's similar because my husband and I will do the same thing where it feels interesting. And by interesting, I mean
Oh,
it's
just
kind of
slam
like
me.
I don't want to
Just slam.
slam
It's
you.
fine
I don't
because
want to.
this is the thing is that I believe that I'm fawning to make you happy. And you're not
Right.
happy.
Right. No. So it makes me feel it kind of makes me feel what's the word? I'm trying to come up with the right word. It makes me feel like you don't value what I do. Like it makes me feel like not valued. It's like she doesn't care enough to tell me yes or no. Like it's not that
Oh,
she has a problem with it. It's like she doesn't care enough to tell me yes or no. And so that's my immediate reaction because like that's we talk about bumping into wounds. That's my
yeah,
wound.
yeah.
Um, And so that's the initial reaction. And then again, like, I'm like, okay, well, no, I know that that's not true. Like, I know that, like, there's the wound over here. And so that immediately, but that's the first thing I go to where it's just like, oh, like, I'm not valuable enough. She doesn't care enough to, like, check it out. Or, ooh, another thing is, what I have to offer, like, doesn't matter. Like, it's
Mm.
not enough. Um, and so, yeah, on the opposite end of that, I'm sure that would feel gross.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah, and that's an
everybody, like you
interesting thing to think
said,
of.
like that's your wounds too. So it's probably going to look different, feel different for everybody. But I
Yeah.
think right now, when we fawn, we think we're making the other person happy. And
Hmm.
really, they're probably feeling like something like you're feeling, like you're fake, or
Yeah.
you don't value me or what I do. You don't even think this is important enough to tell me the truth about, like whatever it is. When I hang out with,
Yeah.
because I tend to want to feel safe if you feel safe. Like if you're happy, I'm
Hmm.
happy is the fawn response. And so when I hang out with fawners, it's so annoying because I don't
Yeah.
know what they want. So
Yeah.
how can I feel safe if I don't even know what you do? So we're just like bouncing off. It's horrible. It's horrible. My mother, this is where I get it from my mother. So she recently visited and we were trying to order pizza at this little the True Vine Brewery here in Tyler. And I can like I am not fawning. I'm like, I want this and I want this. Let's go. Like, how can I help and make sure everybody gets what they want? And she's like, well, no, 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 just whatever you want. Just, no, 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 just whatever. And I'm like, girl, we have to be able
Yeah.
to order. We have to be able to order. Like, what do you
Yeah.
want to put in your mouth? But it's hard because she's only thinking about what I want to put in my mouth. Like,
I
that's a
know.
good
But that's
byline right there, a
I
little
was
cut.
literally yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Regan, because my Eric and I do this, and like that's a super common like couple thing. It's like, oh, what do you want to eat? What do you want to
Hmm.
eat? And like that's also fawning. Like
Yes,
just
it's
putting that out there. If you do
obnoxious.
that with your spouse, it's fawning and it's obnoxious. And we've gotten to the point, my husband and I, where I genuinely, I very often will have like absolutely no on like one type of food, and then I genuinely don't have a preference. Because again, we talk about
Yeah,
moms and decision fatigue
yeah.
and everything. And it's like,
Just pick
I
for
don't want
me.
to make this
Yes,
decision, just
totally.
pick for me. And he's over here trying to like guess in my head what I actually want. And so there's been times like we leave like church or we're like on our way out to go do something. He's like, "What do you want?" And I look at him in the eye and say, "I do not want Chinese today. Pick anything else. I have zero preferences other than that."
Yeah.
And I just like lay it out on the line. And then we still have we still can have problems with it. And he's like, "Well, what does this sound good? Does that sound good to you? Like, like, does this sound good to you?" Just I will be fine with anything. I would love
Hmm.
for you to have your pick today. But and that we can go into like the trauma of fawning too, because my husband, I don't believe used to be like that. Like I fully traumatized him in the sense of projecting what I thought needed to be done onto him. And so like then we go back and forth and he's like, "Can I trust her?" Like the
Yeah,
opposite of the situation, like, "Can I trust that she's telling me the truth?" And I totally get that. Like
yeah.
I so get that.
He's like,
But
sorry, dear.
yeah, and no, and I've apologized to that man so many times. I'm like, had I known, I'm like, had I known, the things would be so different. And I'm so sorry. And that's what I love about my spouse is he has forgiven me and we're doing great and we're learning more about each other and it's great and it's beautiful. But at the same time, like that is going to be projected that or it's going to be carried on into other things. Like it's not just food.
Oh yeah,
Like
food was
it gets
silly.
so serious.
Yes.
It gets so serious. And that's something that I don't think we pay attention to because it's you could be house shopping and being like, "Oh, I want whatever my spouse wants." And actually you don't. And then
Hmm.
you're like you purchase a house that you hate living in. Um and I don't know. There's
Yeah.
just so many different ways to think about it because there's so many different ways that it happens.
Yeah. And that's let's kind of go deeper into that because actually just now my husband and I have kind of we've been house shopping and we've actually we've put offers in on like five or more houses in the last 2 years and have
Yeah.
not got we just actually put in an offer. We were the first ones to put an offer on a house this last weekend. We put an offer in like 4 hours. And did we get it? No, we didn't get it. We've been having this over and over and over. So,
Mm,
but what we just did was the same kind of thing. He was pulling us towards this lake property. And I was like, placating and placating and placating, but it just wasn't moving. And we started doing all of this fascia work. I'm talking about the like exercises that we're doing together to kind of build
Mm-hmm.
space for our own personalities, our own wants and desires, so that we can communicate those. And I'm telling you, after 1 week, I told him, I don't want to move out there to the lake. I want to be closer to the kids' school. That's like that's just being honest. That's what I've been pushing and pushing and pushing myself down to not tell you that because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hurt your feelings. But that's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, did I already tell you this?
No.
Okay, I'm like, did I already say
I'm like,
this?
this is brand new.
Okay. Well, that's the like the other how big, huge decisions. We could have moved. He was kind of like encouraging me to homeschool again if we moved because it'd be too far from the kids' school. So he's
Mm-hmm.
rewriting my entire life and my what my whole day looks like and what my kids' day looks like. And it's fine because he knows that I can say no if I don't want it. But I
Yeah.
wasn't saying no. And that's where it's like,
Yeah.
girl, you're about to upend everything you want
Yeah.
because of what? Because of you don't have the practice of saying what you need and what you want. And so why do we
Mm-hmm.
do this? Like, why do we do this? That's this next little part of this conversation.
Yeah. Why do we do this? For me, it was to survive. For my niche, it's normally to survive. And by survive, I mean, when you're with an abuser, either physical, mental, like narcissistic, whatever it is, there's consequences to your actions. And so for me, it was survival because I didn't want to be either I could suppress myself and kind of control that suppression, or I was going to be suppressed. And so there's like this hint of like for me, like control. I have control over the situation if I do it to myself. But I don't know about you.
Gross. Gross.
Yeah, disgusting.
Oh,
So gross.
it gives me
And
the
so
ick.
sad. Like not just gross, but so sad.
Yeah.
Like so sad. My heart breaks for my younger self.
Yeah.
But I think about I'm not gonna cry. I think about myself like 10 years ago, and I'm just like, she just needed a hug. Like
Oh,
she
I
just needed a
know.
hug. She needed somebody to be there, and she didn't have that. And like, oh my gosh, stabs me in the heart. It hurts so bad.
Mm,
Um, and so that it also kind of gives you a little bit of motivation, like to keep going and not be her anymore and love her. And anyway, but yeah,
yes,
gross and sad.
that's so true. I did some memory healing this weekend, and it was about something that happened in college with a
Mm-hmm.
baseball player. Their college baseball
Oh,
players are so loving to girls. Um,
uh-huh.
but I've been carrying this wound for years in my marriage, and I didn't realize it was there, and it popped up. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been like carrying that belief that I got from that
Mm-hmm.
experience through my marriage, and I was like, oh, I need to
Yeah.
go heal you. So I was praying and I was asking God to help me heal this and like forgive and bless this boy. And I wasn't upset with him at all. He's just a teenage boy. Like I didn't have any anger or frustration or sadness towards him, only
Mm-hmm.
towards my college self, who was just
Yeah.
so, so desperate for love. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, girl, I have to forgive you because you were so desperate for love. You were looking like in the worst places. You were like digging through the dumpster. And
Yeah.
I'm not mad at what you found in the dumpster. I'm mad at you for doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And so yes, this is so real. And how many years of fawning and settling for less and digging in the dumpster in our relationships, in our
Mm.
energy
Yeah.
levels, in our friendship, everything. It's just I have to forgive her and bless her, but also like you said, there's hope, there's healing.
Yeah.
Oh, you just like broke my heart getting real about it.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry mid-podcast.
God is so good. God is so good.
Laughing
That's
because I'm uncomfortable.
there's one of those times. Okay, so when I
Oh, but
look,
no, you're right.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's that with ourselves rather than the other person
Yes,
normally.
I mean sometimes it's the other person for sure, but that one wasn't. Oh my gosh, that one was just so sad. Young Regan.
Oh,
Um, So when I look at fawning, mine comes from, I always think it's like from an old memory like that, where I was abandoned or I was hurt or I was treated less than or unlovable, right? That's at the root of everyone that I work with. At the very, very base of it is, well, I'm not really very lovable. And if I don't
Mm-hmm.
work hard, people aren't going to love me because they didn't when I was young. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
And so what the antidote to fawning is relational security.
Mm-hmm.
Like feeling like I am lovable no matter what I do. And this is
Yeah.
especially hard in the Christian culture because we are teaching our kids not to sin. We're showing them this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong.
Right.
But we have to take that next step and say, but even when you choose wrong, God is there and he loves you. He's not abandoning you. He's not judging you. He's not mad at you. He's begging. He's waiting. He's like, let's go turn this
Mm-hmm.
around. I'm right here. Take my hand. He's
Yeah.
not shoving you in your room and locking the door and leaving.
Yeah.
And that relational
Oh,
security is at the base of this. This am I lovable? For me, what do you see in you and yourself and your clients?
yeah, no, I think like for myself, I had a God complex with my mother where it was she reacts to me the same way God reacts to me, which is so twisted,
But
so twisted.
common.
But very common, and a lot of my clients struggle with something similar where either they believe that God thinks of them the same way as their abuser, or they may not even think of God at all, because that unlovable is so close to the surface. Like that's something that I know you have to like dig with your clients to get there, but like for me and my clients, like one of the things that's at, like close to the top of the surface is like you're completely worthless. Like you are unlovable, you are not worthy of this, etc. So that's a lot higher up there for us. Um and so I feel like we can just like dive like real deep into that, and I've done so much work, and I love the Holy Spirit because I think that like the antidote for me and the antidote for my clients is to like literally to face it, like, and literally just show up and be like, here it is. This is what it looks like. And I know that you don't like this, but like this is what it is. And the thing that got me strong enough to say no and strong enough to stop fawning was the fact that my I disconnected my relationship with God from my relationship with my mom, and I realized, oh my goodness, what have I been doing? Like, what have I missed out on? The fact that God loves me regardless
Mhm.
was not something that I was taught growing up. Like there was that missing piece, the complete missing piece. And so I would say that antidote to say no is to like see what you're connected to and disconnect it from that, which is really hard to tell a survivor of like abuse of some sort because you're normally so enmeshed with
Yes.
your abuser that it takes literally just like prying your finger off and pulling it all the way back. But again, that's why I do what I do, especially in my coaching programs. So you don't have to do that alone. I tried to do that alone for a really long time. I came to Regan when I realized I was a shell of myself.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's not fun work, but it's 100% worth it because we find that freedom and then we find that connection with God. We find those intimate connections with other human beings on this planet, which is really cool. And not something I experienced for most of my life. So, yeah, I'm like long answer.
I love it. You just said, and those relationships with other human beings. There's a quote, and I don't know how to say his name. Gabor. I don't know how to say his name. Mate. I don't.
Oh, I don't know how to say it either. I say
Okay.
Gabermate.
Okay, great. I'm always pronouncing it mate,
It's
and I'm like,
not
I have
right.
no idea. But he says, and I have this quote here: safety, or for me, like relational security, that like antidote. Safety is
Mm-hmm.
not the absence of the threat. Like removing the bully is really lovely, but you still
Yeah.
don't feel safe. What it is it's the presence
Right.
of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
That's good.
yeah, it's so good. So it's like a bully can come back into your life now because you're so well connected with people who see you for who you really are. So,
Yeah.
and I've brought this to you before when I've been bullied. You've brought this to me before. You're like, it's like we come to each other sometimes and we're like, am I am I the crazy one? Am I the
Right?
crazy one here? And what was this
Yeah.
when I brought that to you guys all when I was working through that with a close family member? I was like, I am like the black sheep of the family because I am saying no to this bully, and everybody else is
Mhm.
like, you should say yes, you should say yes, you should say yes to her, you should say yes to her. And it's like,
Mhm.
in a room full of people who are placating the bully, I'm glad to be the black sheep. Like I am
Oh
the
yeah.
crazy one, and I'm glad that that's me. And you guys help me see
Yeah.
that. Like you're the only one who's holding the flag for functional family. Like hold it, girl. And if they call you crazy, that's okay. They'll eventually
Yeah.
see it or they won't. But you got to hold the flag. And I know we've done that for each
Absolutely.
other some over the time, but that real connection.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm so with you. The thing what has changed is having someone else hold that flag versus holding it myself. Because
Yes.
when I hold it myself, I walk into the situation thinking, okay, I'm going to claim this X, Y, or Z. Things are going to change. And then we can like go right back to having a relationship. I
Yes.
tried that for 20 something years, never worked. And the only thing that changed was having a genuine connection with someone else, other people, to give you that flag and be like, hey, hey, you're not crazy. Don't go do that.
Yes.
This is when has this worked out for you? It hasn't. Okay, great. Come unpack. Like giving me that full permission to say you don't have to keep trying. Like you don't have to keep trying to jump back into this old
Mhm.
pattern. You don't have to and that's the thing. You cannot fawn. You can't be in like this fawning relationship and then decide not to fawn and then expect something to stay the same. Like the entire dynamic is going to change. And most of the time, depending on the type of person that you're with an abuser, it's going to go negative
Yep.
very
Every
quickly.
time. Every
Every
time.
single time. And there's no way you can just show up and change. And like there's distance and whatnot. And like I pray I would love like to give this a few years with my mom and be able to see like massive change and then show up and have a different relationship. But I cannot guarantee that for myself.
Mhm.
And even if it does happen, it doesn't guarantee that she's not going to revert back to old patterns, or I'm not going to want to revert back to old patterns, which means I'm going to have to change everything in itself. And so that can just be applied to everything at this point with the fawning. And it's like my husband and I, we do a lot better with deciding where to go eat.
Mhm.
But every now and then, he's like, is she telling me the truth?
Yeah.
And I'm like, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I love that you just brought up the that whole thing, all of it. But I something that's coming to me is a lot of our listeners have been seeing this cutoff culture. Like my clients are
Oh, I
usually
know.
like 45 to 65, 45 to 70, and some of them have been cut off by their children, or they have friends who have their children have cut them off. And
Hmm.
I just want to put a little nuance to this conversation. I think there are a lot of people talking about this topic who are doing a great job of breaking down all the different facets of it. But
Hmm.
what you just said, I want to equate it to a marriage because I'm working with someone right now who has an abusive husband. And
Hmm.
it's helping her see that no amount of placating will stop the abuse.
Yeah.
No amount. Like it does. If she says yes to this, he finds something else to complain about. If she says yes to this,
Hmm.
he complains about it. And so
Yeah.
she's just bouncing all over, trying to jump through these hoops so that it will stop and she can finally feel safe again. And it's never going to happen. It hasn't happened in their entire marriage. Why does she think that it, and she's like, it's me, it's me, it's me. I have to, all these accusations that he's giving me, I have to just like rise to the occasion and fix this about myself. And then the hatred and the abuse and the vitriol will
Mm,
stop. And
yeah.
that's just not how it works with abusers. And
Mm,
so for parents who have been cut off or who've seen somebody, it's really hard for them to admit there might have been abuse because all the way
mhm,
since you were in fourth grade, just like my daughter, you've been taught and I've been taught to placate, but give the bully
mhm.
what they want. So now it's
Yeah.
really hard to admit that, like, a true bully, an abusive person, exists in marriages,
Yeah.
in parent-child relationships, in friendships, in sister relationships, and brother relationships. it
Yeah.
happens. And when that happens, it's a different level than when we're talking about I'm fawning my mom. My mom's not an abuser. So when I'm fawning or she's fawning, we're working through this in a way that's more it's lower level. It's like, no, give me the strength to say the hard thing. Give her the strength to say what she really wants. Like it's
Hmm.
this normal thing that's going to bring us closer together and not
Yeah.
apart. But those aren't the same rules when you're dealing with a husband who's literally abusing you
Yeah.
and or a mother who's abusing. And I don't think people see those. There are two sets of rules here for
Yeah.
abusers and non-abusers.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a really great distinction to make because I'm thinking that's something that's so common just because we do that where we'll see like it's especially in the Christian culture it's like, oh, it's your mom, like you need to like you shouldn't do, like she gave up like all these things for you. Number one, I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to I played adult games and my children are here. That's my responsibility, is to not just take care of their basic needs, but to help them thrive because that was my choice. They didn't choose to do that. And so putting that responsibility on the parent properly is super important because there are there's two different perspectives where it's like, okay, I genuinely did try my best. I genuinely did have these other things that like popped up, or and another thing and something excuse me, something I absolutely love is a parent who will apologize, or a parent who will just sit here and like talk with you about it and like hear you out and not constantly defend themselves. And those are two different types of relationships. And I have a client, she's I think she's in her late 40s. She's been doing that with her mom, who's in her 60s. 60s or 70s. Um and their entire relationship dynamic has changed, like completely changed. And she was like, she's so open, and I was nervous about bringing this to her, but I like brought it to her anyway, and we talked about it. And like she's had like some abuses, some big T little T traumas in the past, but she's been able to bring that up, and they've been able to talk about it, and it's been like a good year of these conversations, and it's been beautiful. But then you have the opposite where you bring it to like say like your husband or another parent, and it's like, well, I was doing the best with what I had, or these other things came up. Like that's not my fault. Like your emotions aren't my responsibility. And it's kind of like using the therapy speak to like flip it on its head. Um, but yeah, no, the rules are totally completely separate, and I think that it gets skewed both ways.
Yes, it
Like,
does.
and it's so important to say that like both just because you have a parent that did something wrong doesn't mean that you need to cut them off. Like I brought this up for 10 years maybe, and then finally made the choice of like, okay, this isn't going to work out. We're not getting
Yes.
anywhere. It's been 10 years of trying. Um, but then there's the opposite, like my client that's just like, yeah, I've been bringing this up and it's been like hard conversations over the last year, but it's been beautiful and the fruit of it has been beautiful. And like, just like you say, judge it by its fruit.
Yes. And you're so right. I don't think you have to take 10 years to do it. I think you
Yeah, I
know.
don't think it should take 10 years. I don't recommend 10 years.
But it is different from some people in these younger generations are like, oh, you hurt me, you're out. And that's really
Hmm.
being an emotional bully. And that's what we're showing
Yeah.
you. Like there's the
Yeah.
emotional bullies in all generations and all parts of the relationship. And it's just really understanding these labels. So if you're struggling
Yeah.
with this, I think hire a coach, go see a counselor, see someone who can help you label what you have because
Yeah.
I have some clients who are like, "This is not abuse," and then they show me what it is, and I'm like, "Baby, that's abuse. Let's get a
Hmm.
counselor." And some clients are like, "Is
Yeah.
this abuse?" I'm like, "Nope."
Mm.
But it feels big because you haven't been taught how to feel your emotions. So let's work through that.
Exactly.
But just
Exactly.
having somebody on the outside help you take your situation, properly label it, and so that way you can start moving in the way that you need to
Yeah.
move.
I will never forget, I was doing EMDR therapy. This was like, I think I was pregnant with Lily, so this was like 3 years ago. I was doing EMDR therapy, and I like brought something up to my therapist, and we were like going deep. And I like had the realization that I was like, oh my gosh, this is abuse. Like it
Mhm.
hit me like a train. Like it hit me so hard. And I was like, this can't be. This can't be. like, this can't be real. This can't be what
Mhm.
happened. And no, it was. But had I not had somebody to do that labeling,
Mhm.
I probably just would have sat in denial for so long. But that is so important, Reagan. You're completely right.
It's so important. And I know you've shared before too how you've been called out by your own therapist or your own coach. Like it's
Yep.
wise counsel, right? Wise counsel says,
Yep.
here's the label, babe. And sometimes I'm smacking you with the label. Sometimes it's on your mom or on your sister, on your friend, or like the label today in today's lesson is that you're the problem. Let me help you through it. Like
Yeah.
true wise counsel is being honest about the situation versus just
Yeah.
telling you what you want to hear. And I know we have
Yep.
some helpers in the world who are just trying to even fawn and placate their clients. We ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Not
If
at
you have
all.
a counselor who's doing that, if you have a therapist or coach who's doing that, you find a new one. You need someone who will tell you when it's you who's being the jerk.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. And that's like topic number one of the reason why people don't trust coaches and therapists.
Yes.
It's like, oh yeah, because we hear these stories of like, oh yeah, do whatever you want, you're completely fine. It's like, well, actually, no. And I think the best sessions are the sessions that you're called out in. It's just
Yes.
like, okay, honey, why are you looking at it this way? Like this isn't, and it just changes the game. Um,
Well, and that's what we're
but yeah,
doing here. We're calling you out. That's why these are probably kind of interesting podcasts to listen to because we're not helping you with your friend or with your adult son or with your father. We're helping you with you.
yeah, we're not validating the fact that you got cut off. However, we're going to make you look internally and see, let's see what this is about. Is
Yeah.
this valid? I don't know.
Yeah. And same on the other side. Did you cut
Oh my
somebody off?
gosh.
Did you
Yeah.
like is this you? Is it like because a lot of people and this is I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
call myself out here. When we fawn, sometimes we go from fawning instead of it's like a 30-step process. We have to start getting we
Mm-hmm.
need to end with that too in a minute of like how we get out of this.
Yeah.
But it's like a 30-step process of this healing and growing and falling and healing and growing and falling. It's like two
Mm-hmm.
steps forward, one step back. And in this, if you don't go all the way, you oftentimes get stuck at just cutting people off because you start to
Mm-hmm.
distance yourself from things that
Mm-hmm.
feel unsafe or things that feel like, whoa, I don't have that relational security there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you finally realize, like, oh, they're bothering me, they're hurting me, but I
Yeah.
don't have the skills to communicate it yet. And so if you don't
Yeah.
keep growing and get those skills, then you just start cutting people
Yeah.
off. And that's what we see rampant in the younger generations right now. No
Yeah.
communication skills, no relational security and ability to bring it and openly be ready to be rejected or accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we're just like, you know what? I don't think it's worth it to have this conversation with her. So I'm just going to cut her off. It's like
Yeah.
that that's not the full picture. You stopped like on rung 3 there.
Yeah. No, that's so true. So true.
It's I know that at some of our listeners this looks like so painful. So I want to hold that whole part of the conversation. That's the Holy Spirit because that wasn't planned for today. I just want to hold that whole part of the conversation with such gentleness. It's a such a painful spot to be in. When I was
Mm-hmm.
first cut off by someone 8 years ago, in my family, very close, I could not sleep. I was all over the place. I was like, it looked like clinical depression. I don't even know what it was. It was like
Mm-hmm.
3 years. I wasn't sleeping in my bed anymore. I was trying to fall asleep to TV on the couch. My husband's like, when are we going to get through this? But it was so painful because I was a fawner. And
Yeah.
it made me feel like I can't even move forward with my life in any way because they don't want me. They don't
Yeah.
love me. And I am just breaking. And through healing, through learning how to heal and get Christ in that place that's
Mm-hmm.
so insecure, then I can see this for what it is. And it's still painful, but it's I'm still like fully alive now and I'm not just like a shell
Yeah.
and broken.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think my clients, like my niche is kind of in the way we think about it is like in the sense of we're in the opposite end of the spectrum. So we need to probably cut someone off, right? But we're like not sure if we're able to do the surviving without them. And so I remember again, anytime I've had to like set a firm boundary, just doing the exact same thing, like a spiral in the sense of like I can't eat, I can't sleep because I'm worthless, and if I don't have this person in my life, I don't know who I am. Um, and so it's so interesting because this conversation is so incredibly nuanced
It
because just like
is.
it's so nuanced and there's no one size fits all. There's no completely right, completely wrong. Um, and I think that that in itself causes so many problems in conversations with others because we're all like you and I are completely different.
Yes.
And we get it because we have like self-awareness. That's something that we are constantly like we're constantly learning and growing and we know each other very well. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting because there's no one solution.
Yeah. And so if you're listening to this and it's like just killing you, one, take harvest what you need to harvest and leave the rest. Like what
Hmm.
resonates with you is for you, and the rest let it go. Because
Yeah.
again, we're talking about like two sides of a coin here, and you may be the like the fifth side. We don't like there's it's more nuanced than two sides of a coin, right? Like this is a
Yeah.
very multifaceted beast that we're talking about. And so again, just know that your situation is unique to ours. We've hit on a few points here in this giant conversation, but if it's not what's not hitting for you, let it go. It's not for you. And
Yeah.
we're not saying that everything we're saying applies to you and your situation. It just doesn't.
Absolutely.
Um, so moving through this, and like we talked about that relational security and
Hmm.
feeling like connected to good people who see you fully. Um,
Yeah.
one way we can do this is literally by imagining. Like, and that's what I did with my coach from the
Hmm.
beginning was just start to imagine what it would feel like to like talk to this person, talk to someone, talk to a friend or a parent who sees you fully and still loves you.
Yeah.
Like just play, just imagine. Like and it was very hard for me. It's very hard for me. I don't know. Have you ever done that before?
Yeah, I've tried.
It's hard.
And
I've
then
tried and failed.
I think it's interesting. It's interesting because sometimes you can't imagine it. And that's like for me, I was like, I can't imagine it. Like there's no, I don't see a world in which this could possibly happen. And even like pushing to imagine it more, like it felt wrong. Like
Hmm.
there's interesting like the feelings that will bubble up when doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's one way is imagining. This is also something that came up from the Rising Tide Fellowship. Like I've talked about this before, but the Rising Tide was came from prayer. We built this community because it came from prayer. Yes, like yes, Lord, obedience. But then I started to see all the fruit fall, like all of this fruit coming
Hmm.
down that I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that was going to be there. And one of them was this like I'm struggling to imagine how to be fully me in
Hmm.
relationships. And I'm not ready to tell my friends and family and parents and daughters and sons. And I'm not ready to tell them, like, new me, not fawning to you guys
Yeah.
anymore, or not going to be an emotional ShamWow to you guys anymore. I'm not ready to do that because I feel super unsafe. They're going to like reject me or cut me off or hate
Yeah.
me or yell at me or whatever it is. So where do I go? And that's one
Yeah.
thing with online community is that we've been practicing with each other, just showing up and using the language with each other, normalizing, setting boundaries, normalizing, prioritizing, or at least remembering your own needs and desires in the equation
Hmm.
versus suppressing them completely.
Yeah.
We have women show up to community coaching hour and apologize for being late. It's okay. You can be late. They apologize when they leave. It's okay. You can leave whenever you want. Like,
Yeah.
apologize for taking up too much of our time. You're not a burden. And so just
Yeah.
like practicing that, getting it out and having all of the different women at different seasons, different times say like, oh no, please don't apologize for that. Like that's not something you
Yeah.
should be sorry for. We're glad you're here. That's it. And just like
Absolutely.
practicing that. What does a healthy exchange look like?
Yeah. A lot of us don't have never had that modeled. And just like you're talking about what could be the impact, like the culture shift if we were to model that. Um, it would be crazy. It would be absolutely crazy how impactful that would be. And so that's like totally what we're doing in the Rising Tide, where we're able to just, like you said, and it's not just coaches, but it's like other ladies too
Oh
starting to
yeah.
hold each other to that standard. And we've been doing this long enough, like we have our 2-year anniversary coming up here in a month,
Yes.
which is really exciting. And so we've been practicing this long enough where we have a good, solid group of women who are just ready to absorb like a brand new person off the street. Like you could feel like you were completely, I have absolutely no skills. I have no, like, I have barely enough self awareness to realize I'm supposed to be here. You log in, you log on, you jump in, and it's like everything's just, you're immediately elevated.
Yes.
Um, and it makes it so much easier to be able to go home and have that conversation with your husband, or like call up the adult child that you're struggling with, or whatever it is, and be able to have the harder conversations.
Yes. I don't want to call them out by name, but I'm thinking of some women in our
Oh, I
group right
know.
now who we've seen them. Like we've all been growing together. We've all been implementing these in our own lives, our own families. And it's so interesting. Like I'm thinking of like a 60-plus-year-old woman who has been practicing this with her mother. And then
Mm-hmm.
like a 57-year-old who's been practicing with this with her adult daughter. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
everybody in different angles and different stuff, and like a
Yeah,
lot of us finally getting to that place where we can see it in our own marriage. Sometimes that's the last one we want to look at.
I know.
But we're all slowly implementing it, and we're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk. And so
Yeah.
those women are so um it's just amazing how when a new member comes in, they're just
Yeah.
so supportive, and again, that it's just that relational security. Like you can
Yeah.
be who you want to be, and it's okay. We're not mad at you. We like you. We love you. It's
Yeah.
fine. Like just practice being her. And if it's messy,
Yeah.
great. So are ours. That's why we start with humble pie.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for
Mm.
our listeners?
Not really. This was loaded. I really like the disclaimer of take what is good and leave the rest, because I could see myself years ago listening to something like this and being like fully relating, not with my story but with yours, and saying like, oh, it's actually like this is like I'm just fawning, and like it's in like a different
Yes.
situation than it actually is. Um, so I don't know. I would just implore you to be honest with yourself. Just think, what's so wrong being the big trauma? What's wrong with it? Um, why does it scare you? Um, and I don't know. Just be honest. Don't make excuses. Show up messy, because we're obviously messy.
Oh, that's so good. For my side, I'm thinking, um, I don't know. What's coming to my mind is, are you living fully alive? If you're still
Mm-hmm.
exhausted after social time, if you're still broken from someone cutting you off, if you're still hurting all the time from this, and like really relating to those little, I don't know, I just like, I'm the bigger person. I don't tell people and I don't bring stuff up. I just
Mm-hmm.
swallow it. If that's where you are, like, you're not fully alive. Like, the glory of God
Yeah.
is man fully alive. And so, like, let's give that glory to God and let's be fully alive. Take that next step to unearth some of these, like take it's almost like each one of these is like a rope around you, and you're just gonna like slowly loosen that
Yeah.
rope and lay it down so you can stretch, you can breathe, and you can be fully alive and not so encapsulated in these wounds.
That's a really good visual.
Thanks. It's working well since I'm doing that course with fascia. It's like that's what it feels like I'm doing every day. I'm like, oh, get it off. Feels so good.
Awesome.
Thanks, Audie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. If you'd like to work with Regan, you can learn more about her on her website at reganclementcoaching.com.
And if you'd like to work with Audie, you can find her at audiegonzalez.com.